Mia stood in front of the tall glass doors of the luxury store. Her heart was beating fast. Today was supposed to be a happy day. She had saved money for 1 whole year to buy a special handbag. It was not just a bag for her. It was a dream, a reward for all her hard work. She took a deep breath and walked inside. The store was bright and beautiful. Expensive lights hung from the ceiling. The floors were shiny like mirrors. The smell of rich perfume filled the air. Everywhere she looked, there were beautiful clothes, sparkling jewelry, and colorful handbags. Mia smiled. She felt proud of herself. She had worked 2 jobs, skipped vacations, and saved every extra dollar just to be here today. But as she walked further inside, she noticed something strange. The smiles on the faces of the staff disappeared when they saw her. 2 women behind the counter whispered to each other and looked at her. A man in a black suit gave her a cold, hard stare. Mia felt a little uncomfortable, but she told herself, maybe I'm just imagining it. Stay strong. This is your moment. She walked to the handbag section. The bags were displayed on golden shelves like treasures. Mia's eyes sparkled when she saw the bag she wanted. It was even more beautiful in real life than in the pictures. She reached out to touch it. Her fingers brushed the soft leather. It felt perfect. Just then, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Excuse me, can I help you?" A saleswoman said, walking quickly towards Mia. Her voice was not friendly. It was cold, almost angry. Mia turned to her and smiled politely. "Yes, thank you. I would like to look at this bag, please." The saleswoman raised her eyebrows and crossed her arms. She looked Mia up and down slowly, from her shoes to her hair. Then she laughed, a small, mean laugh. "That bag is very expensive," she said loudly, so that other customers could hear. "Maybe you would like to see something cheaper." Mia's heart dropped. She could feel the eyes of everyone in the store turning towards her. A few people even smirked. "I know the price," Mia said quietly. "I still want to look at it." The saleswoman frowned. "Are you sure?" she said. "It's really not for everyone." Mia felt her cheeks burning. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But she took a deep breath and stayed calm. She gently put the bag back on the shelf. "Thank you," she said in a soft voice, even though her heart was breaking inside. Then she turned and walked out of the store, her head held high. She didn't want them to see her tears. She didn't want them to see her pain. Outside, she sat on a bench and let the tears fall. She felt small, humiliated, and angry. How could they judge her just because of the way she looked? They didn't know her. They didn't know her struggles, her dreams, or her strength. For a long time, Mia just sat there, staring at the ground. People walked past her, busy with their own lives. Finally, she wiped her face and stood up. She looked at the store once more. The building stood there, tall and proud, like it didn't care about the people it hurt. Mia promised herself one thing. She would not stay silent. What happened inside that store was wrong, and the world needed to know. She pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking, but her heart was strong. She opened her camera and took a photo of the store. "This is not the end," Mia whispered to herself. "This is just the beginning." And with that, she walked away, not as a broken woman, but as a fighter. Mia walked slowly down the busy street. Her heart was heavy. The bright sun above her felt distant and cold. People around her laughed and shopped, but inside Mia, there was only sadness. She found a quiet cafe at the corner and went inside. She ordered a coffee and sat alone near the window. As she stirred the coffee, her mind replayed the scene at the store again and again. The sharp words of the saleswoman echoed in her ears. "Maybe you would like to see something cheaper. It's not for everyone." Every time she thought about it, a fresh wave of hurt washed over her. Mia had always believed that if you worked hard, you could achieve anything. But today, it felt like all her hard work meant nothing to some people, just because of her skin color. Just because of her simple clothes, they judged her. Maya looked out the window and saw the same luxury store shining in the distance. People were still walking in, smiling, shopping, like nothing bad ever happened there. Her hands tightened around the coffee cup. She remembered the faces of the staff, the mocking smiles of other customers. She remembered how her dream, something she worked so hard for, had been crushed in seconds. She had stayed calm in the store because she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her pain. But now, alone, she felt everything. The embarrassment, the anger, the deep sadness. Why? Mia whispered to herself, "Why do they think they are better than me?" A little girl at the next table dropped her ice cream. It spilled all over her pretty dress. The child looked ready to cry, but her mother smiled, cleaned her up, and gave her a big hug. Mia watched them and felt a small light in her heart. She realized something important. She didn't have to accept the way the world treated her. She could fight back, not with anger, but with truth. Mia picked up her phone and opened her notes app. She began typing, her fingers flying over the screen. She wrote every detail about what happened inside that store. The looks, the words, the way she felt like a stranger, like she didn't belong. She ended her message with strong, clear words. Nobody deserves to be treated like this. Kindness should never have a price. Mia took a deep breath. She knew what she was about to do could change everything. Some people might ignore her. Some might attack her. But maybe, just maybe, someone would listen. Maybe someone would care. With a steady hand, she posted her story on all her social media accounts. She also attached the photo she took of the luxury store. At first, nothing happened. She sipped her coffee and waited. 5 minutes later, her phone buzzed. One like, then another, then a comment. "This is heartbreaking. I'm so sorry you went through this." More comments poured in. People were shocked, angry, and supportive. Many shared their own stories of being judged unfairly. Maya felt tears come to her eyes again. But this time, they were different. These were tears of hope. In less than an hour, her post had been shared by hundreds of people. Big pages and influencers picked it up. Strangers messaged her, thanking her for speaking up. Maya realized something powerful. She was not alone. The luxury store, the workers who looked down on her, they thought she was small, but they had no idea how big her voice could become. Outside, the sun was starting to set. The golden light touched everything warmly. Mia smiled for the first time that day. This was no longer just about a handbag. This was about dignity. This was about standing up, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been made to feel small. Maya finished her coffee, picked up her bag, and stood tall. Tomorrow would be a new day. And tomorrow, the world would hear her louder than ever. Mia woke up early the next morning. She barely slept the night before. Her mind had been full of emotions, fear, hope, and a little bit of excitement. When she opened her phone, she froze. There were hundreds of notifications. Her post had exploded overnight. It had been shared thousands of times. People from all over the world were talking about it. Mia's heart raced as she read the comments. "This is disgusting behavior. That store should be ashamed. Mia, you are so brave for speaking out. This happens to so many people. Thank you for telling your story." She couldn't believe it. So many strangers stood with her. She had felt alone yesterday, but now she was surrounded by love and support. On Twitter, her post was trending. Big accounts, celebrities, activists, and famous bloggers were sharing her story. Some even tagged the luxury store, demanding an apology. One famous actress wrote, "No one should ever be treated this way. We stand with Mia." News channels picked up the story too. Headlines popped up. "Black woman disrespected at luxury store. Internet demands justice. Luxury brand under fire after viral story." Mia sat on the edge of her bed, her hands shaking. She never expected this. She just wanted to share her pain. But now her voice had reached the world. Her phone buzzed again. It was a message from a reporter. "Hi, Mia. We would love to hear more about your experience. Would you be open to an interview?" Mia hesitated. Part of her was scared. What if the store tried to lie? What if people attacked her? But then she remembered how alone she felt yesterday. She remembered how small they made her feel. No, she wouldn't stay silent anymore. Maya replied, "Yes, I'm ready to tell my story." By afternoon, she was sitting in front of a camera at a small news station. The reporter asked her to tell what happened, and Maya spoke clearly. Her voice was steady, but her eyes filled with tears as she remembered the cruel words. "I wasn't judged by my actions," she said. "I was judged by how I looked. And that's not right. It's not right for me or for anyone." The interview aired that evening. Millions of people watched it. Mia's calm and strong words touched hearts everywhere. People shared her interview with messages like, "This is why we need change. Respect has no price." Meanwhile, the luxury store remained silent. They didn't respond. They didn't apologize. They acted like nothing had happened. But the world was not going to forget so easily. People started leaving angry reviews on the store's pages. Hashtags calling for a boycott of the brand started trending. Some customers posted videos cutting up their store cards. Influencers who once promoted the brand now spoke against it. The internet had become a powerful storm, and Mia was at the heart of it. At first, Mia couldn't believe it. She was just one woman. But now, she realized the truth. One voice can start a movement. She spent the whole evening answering messages, thanking people, and sharing her gratitude. She made sure to say, "This is not just my fight. This is for every person who was ever judged unfairly. Together, we are strong." Late at night, when everything was quiet, Mia sat by her window and looked at the stars. She felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. She didn't have the handbag she once dreamed of. But she had something much more powerful now. She had dignity. She had respect. And she had a voice that could not be silenced. Outside, the world was changing. And Mia was the reason why. The next morning, the city felt different. The sky was clear. The sun was shining. But a silent fire was spreading across the internet and in people's hearts. Mia's story had touched a nerve deep inside society. People were not just angry. They were furious. They were tired of unfair treatment, tired of the silent hurt that so many had carried for so long. All across social media, Mia's name was everywhere. People shared her interview, her post, and the photo of the luxury store. New hashtags were born. Hashtag Stand With Mia. Hashtag Respect Has No Price. Hashtag Boycott the Luxury Store. Mia sat at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. Her post had now been shared more than 1 million times. News channels were calling nonstop, asking for more interviews. Radio stations talked about her story. Influencers who had millions of followers were refusing to work with the luxury brand. One famous singer tweeted, "A woman's worth is not measured by her wallet. Shame on them." Another TV host said during his show, "When you disrespect one, you disrespect all. We must demand better." Mia's eyes filled with tears. She had felt so small 2 days ago. Now, because she spoke up, the whole world was shaking. Meanwhile, at the luxury store, panic had begun. Inside their offices, managers were having emergency meetings. The CEO shouted at his staff, "How could you let this happen?" The marketing team tried to create a plan to fix the damage. But it was too late. Every time the store posted a new ad or a new product, the comments were flooded with angry messages. "Where's the apology to Mia? We don't support brands that disrespect people. Shame on you." The fire was too big now. No amount of fancy ads or fake smiles could put it out. Big news channels started investigating deeper. They found that Mia was not the only one who had faced bad treatment in that store. Other people, Black, Asian, Hispanic, came forward and shared their own painful stories. Some said they were followed around the store. Others said they were ignored, while other customers were treated like royalty. Maya read these stories and felt her heart break all over again. This was bigger than just her. This was a pattern, a sickness hiding behind shiny glass doors and expensive brands. One news channel ran a special show called The Hidden Face of Luxury, Racism Behind the Glamour. People watched and learned the ugly truth, and they were angrier than ever. In just 2 days, the luxury store lost thousands of customers. Their stock prices began to fall. Several celebrities ended their partnerships with the brand. Other stores in the same company started feeling the heat too. Mia didn't smile at their fall. She didn't want revenge. She wanted change. She posted another message. This is not just about punishing one store. This is about creating a world where respect is given to everyone, no matter how they look, where they come from, or how much money they have. Her words were shared even faster than before. In homes, schools, offices, people were having important conversations. Parents taught their kids about respect and kindness. Companies reviewed their staff training. Some brands started campaigns about diversity and inclusion. Real ones, not just for show. And all because one woman refused to stay silent. Late that night, Maya looked at her reflection in the mirror. She didn't see the hurt anymore. She saw strength. She saw a woman who had faced cold words, humiliation, and disrespect, but who had turned her pain into power. She touched the mirror gently and whispered, "You're more than enough." Outside, the fire still burned, but it wasn't a fire of anger anymore. It was a fire of hope, a fire of change. And Mia had lit that fire with just one brave voice. The luxury store's headquarters was in full panic mode. Every hour, more bad news came in. Sales were dropping. Shares were falling. Celebrities were cutting ties. And customers, loyal for years, were walking away without looking back. The CEO sat in a big cold meeting room with his top team. His face was red with anger. "We need to fix this. Now," he shouted. "But how?" One manager asked in a shaky voice. "Apologize," another whispered. "Publicly, loudly, or we are finished." They quickly made a plan. First, they wrote a long apology letter. It was filled with big words like regret, respect, and deep sorrow. They posted it on all their social media pages. It said, "We are truly sorry for the hurt we have caused. This does not reflect our values. We are committed to making real changes." But when people read the apology, many were not impressed. "Too little, too late," one comment said. "You're only sorry because you got caught," another wrote. Maya read the apology too. She sat quietly for a few minutes, thinking, was it real? Or was it just a move to save their business? Deep inside, she knew the truth. Real change is not about words. It's about actions. The store didn't stop there. They offered Mia a private meeting. They promised her a gift, anything she wanted from the store, free of cost. They even offered a public award, calling her a voice for equality. But Maya shook her head. She did not want gifts. She did not want fake awards. She wanted respect. She wanted real change for everyone, not just herself. Mia posted another message. "I didn't speak up for a handbag. I spoke up for dignity. I don't need gifts. I need actions. I need promises that no one else will be made to feel less again." The internet loved her even more after that. People cheered her bravery. "Mia is teaching them all what true strength looks like," one person wrote. "She can't be bought, and that makes her even more powerful." Pressure grew stronger on the luxury store. Customers demanded to see real steps, new policies, better staff training, real efforts to make everyone feel welcome. Other big brands watched closely. They saw what was happening and started reviewing their own stores. Nobody wanted to be the next name in the fire. Mia's quiet refusal became a loud message across the world. Respect is not for sale. Inside the luxury store, the employees who had mistreated Mia were fired quietly. New posters were placed all around the store, talking about kindness, respect, and equality. New staff training programs were launched, but many people were still angry. They said it was too late. They said real change needed time, not just posters and promises. Mia stayed strong through it all. She kept giving interviews, not to become famous, but to keep the conversation alive. "I don't want revenge," she said in one interview. "I want a world where my little sister, my neighbors, and everyone's children can walk into any store and be treated with kindness, no matter what they look like." Her words touched millions. Parents told their kids Mia's story. Teachers shared it in classrooms. Community leaders invited Mia to speak at events. Mia had become a symbol of quiet courage and unstoppable dignity. And the luxury store. They were learning a hard, painful lesson. Trust, once broken, is not easy to fix, and respect must be given freely, not when forced by the world's anger. That night, as Mia sat on her balcony looking at the stars, she felt peaceful. The store had tried to buy her silence, but she chose something greater. She chose her voice. She chose her truth. She chose to light a path for others to walk without fear. And somewhere, deep in the night, the world felt just a little bit better, because one woman said, "No more." Days passed, but the energy around Mia's story did not fade. It grew stronger. It became bigger than just one woman, one store, or one bad day. Mia had opened a door that could not be closed again. Across the country, people were sharing their own stories. Stories of unfair treatment, of being judged by skin color, clothes, accent, or background. It was as if a giant wall had broken, and voices that had been silent for years were finally free. Social media filled with powerful posts. "I remember when I was treated like a thief because of my skin. I was followed around a store for no reason. I was ignored while others were treated like royalty." Mia read these stories with a heavy heart. So much hidden pain. So much injustice. But now, people were not crying in silence. They were standing together. They were speaking loudly. New movements started, calling for respect, fairness, and dignity for all. Marches were organized. Peaceful protests happened outside luxury stores, malls, and shopping centers. People carried signs that said, "Everyone deserves respect. Dignity over dollars. We are watching." News channels called it the Mia movement. But Mia always said, "This is not about me. This is about all of us." Mia received invitations to speak at schools, colleges, and companies. People wanted to hear her story firsthand. They wanted to learn. They wanted to change. At one big event, Mia stood on a stage in front of thousands of people. Bright lights shone down, and cameras recorded every word. She looked around and took a deep breath. Her heart pounded, but she felt ready. She spoke in her calm, strong voice. "I didn't start this movement with anger. I started it with hope. Hope that one day my story would be rare, not common. Hope that one day every human being would be treated with the respect they deserve." The crowd stood up and clapped loudly. Some people wiped away tears. Others raised their fists in the air, feeling stronger together. Mia smiled, feeling the power of 1,000 hearts beating as one. Meanwhile, many companies started taking real action. They created better training for their workers. They hired more diverse teams. They listened more carefully to their customers. Other luxury brands made public promises to do better. They knew the world was watching now, and they didn't want to be the next to fall. Small businesses also joined the movement. Stores put signs in their windows saying, "Respect lies here. All are welcome." Mia received thousands of thank you messages. From mothers, from students, from workers, from people who had always felt invisible. One message said, "Because of you, I walked into a store today with my head held high. Thank you. Another said, you gave us a voice. We are no longer alone. Mia read each message carefully, holding them close to her heart. She never wanted fame. She never wanted attention. All she ever wanted was a world where kindness mattered more than clothes, skin, or money. And now, that dream was not just hers. It belonged to everyone who believed in a better world. Late one evening, Maya visited the luxury store that had once humiliated her. She stood outside for a long moment, remembering everything. The cold stares, the cruel words, the heavy pain. But now she didn't feel small anymore. She didn't feel powerless. She smiled softly, not because they had changed, but because she had changed. And through her, the world was beginning to change too. Without stepping inside, Mia turned and walked away, her head high, her heart full. She didn't need anything from that place anymore. She had something far more valuable: self-respect, courage, and the love of thousands who now stood with her. And far behind her, the fire of change continued to burn, brighter and stronger than ever before. Months passed since Mia's story first shook the world, but the fire she had started did not die. It grew, slow and steady, touching hearts everywhere. In small towns and big cities, changes were happening. Schools taught children about kindness and respect. Stores trained their workers to welcome every person with a smile. Companies built better teams, filled with different faces, voices, and dreams. It wasn't perfect. Some places still struggled. Some people still held on to old hate. But there was hope now. Real, living hope. And that made all the difference. Mia watched all this from a distance. She didn't need to be in the spotlight. Her mission was bigger than fame. She spent her days helping quietly, meeting young people, sharing her story in small classrooms, supporting new leaders who believed in respect and love. One morning, Maya received a letter. It was from a little girl named Alina. The letter said, "Dear Mia, I want to be like you when I grow up. Thank you for making the world kinder for me. Love, Alina." Mia held the letter close to her chest, tears filling her eyes. This was why she had spoken up. Not for awards, not for money, but for the next generation. For Alina, for every child who deserved a world without fear. Later that year, Maya was invited to a special event in the city. It was called Voices of Change, honoring heroes of hope. At first, Maya didn't want to go. She didn't see herself as a hero. She was just a woman who had refused to be silent. But her friends and family encouraged her. "You deserve this," they said. "You showed the world that one voice can make a difference." So Mia went. The event was beautiful. Lights sparkled like stars. Music filled the air with warmth. And in every seat sat people who believed in a better world. When Maya's name was called, she walked onto the stage slowly, her heart pounding. The crowd stood up, clapping loudly. Some people even wiped away tears. Mia smiled shyly, holding the small trophy they gave her. It was simple, just a heart made of glass. But it meant everything. She stepped up to the microphone. She took a deep breath. And then, in her calm, strong voice, she said, "I am not a hero. I am just a person who believed that silence was no longer an option. We must all stand up, not just when we are hurt, but when we see others being hurt. Kindness is not weakness. Respect is not a gift. It is a right for every human being. And if each of us carries that light in our hearts, then no darkness can ever win." The room filled with loud clapping and cheers. People hugged each other. Some smiled through their tears. Maya stepped down from the stage, feeling lighter than ever before. She knew the journey was not over. There would still be battles to fight. There would still be hearts to heal. But the path was open now. And thousands, maybe millions, were ready to walk it with her. That night, Maya stood outside, looking up at the sky. The stars shone brightly, just like the hope burning inside her. She smiled and whispered into the night, "The future is here, and it's beautiful." And somewhere, far away, another little girl read Mia's story for the first time. Her eyes filled with dreams, her heart filled with courage. And she knew, because of Mia, that she could change the world too. Years passed. The world Mia once knew had changed, slowly but surely. Luxury stores now had open doors for everyone. Staff smiled warmly at every customer. Color, language, background, nothing mattered anymore. What mattered was the heart. What mattered was respect. Children learned in schools about people like Mia, people who stood strong against injustice without anger, but with hope and courage. Mia herself had become a quiet legend, not a celebrity, not a rich superstar, but a living story, a reminder that one small voice can echo through time and change lives. She lived a simple life. She worked with young people, teaching them about kindness and standing up for others. She never wanted to be famous. She only wanted to make the road easier for the next traveler. One evening, Mia visited a small bookshop in her neighborhood. On a dusty shelf, she found a book called Voices That Changed the World. She smiled as she turned the pages. There, among great names, she saw her own. Her picture was small. Her story was short, but it was there, forever. Mia's eyes filled with tears, not of pride, but of gratitude. Gratitude that her pain had not been wasted. Gratitude that her stand had planted seeds that grew into forests of hope. Outside the shop, a mother and her daughter walked by. The little girl pointed at Mia and said, "Mama, look, that's Mia. She made the world fairer." The mother smiled and nodded. "Yes, my love. She showed us all how to be brave and kind." Mia's heart swelled with quiet joy, not for the fame, not for the recognition, but because she had touched a life, and through that life, 1,000 more. That night, Mia sat on a park bench, watching the stars once again. The sky seemed endless, full of dreams still waiting to be born. She whispered softly, "I was just one voice, but one voice is enough. One voice can light a candle, and 1,000 candles can light the world." And somewhere, far away, another young girl opened a notebook, wrote her first brave words, and decided to make a difference. Because the legacy of courage never dies. It lives on. It grows. It changes the world, one heart at a time.